Well, Logan, we're slowly emerging from the goop here. Last week was very busy in the skies, very tumultuous with that lunar eclipse. And while we are still fading out of eclipse season and Mercury is still retrograde, thankfully this week will be more chill in the skies as we're processing all of the many things that have happened recently. We just have a few notable transits to talk about. We'll start off the week with some helpful transformative energy. Then we'll get a big hit of optimism, faith, and resilience. But we'll end the week on hard mode with some mental activation and aggravation. Let's get into it. So today is Monday, March 9th, and earlier today the moon entered the adventurous, abundant, optimistic sign of Sagittarius. Then, late tonight on the West Coast, or early tomorrow morning for the rest of you all, Venus will form a sextile to Pluto from 4 degrees of Aries over to 4 degrees of Aquarius. And I think this transit carries a lot of lovely possibilities. Pluto is the planet of transformation, of death and rebirth, of tapping into our deep power and potential. And right now, it's being motivated by the forward-thinking, authentic, revolutionary values of Aquarius that we know and love. Pluto is in the process of deeply transforming how power works in technology and in society. I mean, have you noticed? In this case, though, it's happening through the relational topics of planet Venus, which is currently moving through the brave, bold sign of Aries, the warrior. So this is a great time to make changes and to honestly look at difficult truths that you may have been too scared to face thus far. Pluto is stimulating Venus through this sextile, empowering us to bring our values, our finances, and resources into greater alignment. We could create some radical shifts here in terms of justice and equality. This could be a great opportunity to alchemize pain into transformative potential and power through creativity and engaging with various art forms. You might make some helpful progress with embodiment and somatic healing or any kind of therapeutic work or processing that benefits your emotional regulation, which is related to Venus. Or you might be bravely facing challenges that are festering in your relationships, becoming more radically honest with yourself and others thanks to Pluto, inviting more trust, vulnerability, and intimacy into your connections. So that is Monday night / Tuesday morning. Moving on to Tuesday, March 10th, tomorrow. In the evening, Jupiter will station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, ending its 4-month-long retrograde. So even though Mercury is still retrograde for the next week and a half or so until the 20th, all the other major planets will now be moving forward in the sky, which might help us to feel like we're recovering some of our energy and making more outward progress again. Now, you may have heard me say before that the retrogrades of slower planets like Jupiter are not a huge deal to pay attention to, but what is worth taking note of is where and when these planets station, meaning that they stop and change directions. So if you have a copy of your own personal birth chart, which is easy to find online if you don't, if you have any planets there near 15 degrees of Cancer, or even near 15 degrees of Capricorn, Aries, Libra, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, or Virgo, this event will impact you more personally, and that impact will depend on what those planet signs and houses look like in your own birth chart. But for all of us, this Jupiter station on Tuesday evening means that we get a bigger hit of that expansive, abundant, generous, optimistic, resilient energy of Jupiter. You might just be feeling a little more confident, lucky, or loved by the universe. And this station also highlights the energy of Cancer, sending out a pulse of that healing, caring, nurturing, domestic, calm, quiet, creative, imaginative energy of the sign of the Crab. Especially because Jupiter here is sitting in a flowing water trine to that retrograde Mercury in Pisces, this station can help give us a final push toward our deep, emotional, internal, spiritual reflections with Mercury retrograde. So if possible, tomorrow evening is a great time to spend at home and or with those you consider to be your true family. I do have to say, though, that this transit may also add fuel to the fire of nationalism, patriotism, xenophobia, doubling down on borders, and even further inflating the ego of the self-styled leaders of our worlds, which are some shadow sides of Jupiter in Cancer. So this might be a good reminder to tend to the basic needs and safety of yourself and your chosen family, and preparation for whatever fuckery is sure to continue coming toward us in the future. Next, we have Wednesday, March 11th, and there's not much to report here other than the moon entering mature, solitary, hardworking Capricorn late that evening. The skies are very quiet on Thursday the 12th and even on Friday the 13th. Ooh. Then on Saturday, March 14th, the moon moves along to innovative, humanitarian, rebellious Aquarius. And folks, as you may have noticed, the moon moves quite quickly, changing signs every 2 or 3 days. It's the fastest moving body in our sky. So although I'm informing you briefly about these movements, they're generally not a big deal to pay attention to, apart from the new and full moons that we talk about every month. But the moon's movements do contribute to our shifting moods from day to day, modulated by how they interact with our own personal birth charts, and they do just generally impact the overall energy of how we move through the week. Anyway, that brings us to the final exact transit of this week. Early on Sunday, March 15th, Mercury will retrograde, backtrack to form a conjunction with Mars at 10 degrees of Pisces. Folks, we're ending this week with the most challenging transit that I've mentioned here so far. Mercury represents your mind, your perceptions, your thoughts, and communication. And it's currently in this dreamy, intuitive, spiritual, creative, emotional, reflective state due to retrograding through Pisces, right? But when it meets up with fiery Mars, we can feel triggered and clouded by mental overstimulation, aggravation, irritation, frustration, anger, stress, and anxiety. Whew. We may be more prone to wasting our energy by getting into pointless quibbles, arguments, and other conflicts. I'm looking at you arguing in the comments section of some random fucking post somewhere. Or we could harness this energy for good. We could get more deeply in touch with our righteous rage. We could learn how to more effectively and passionately express ourselves. We could actually learn from our disagreements rather than just shouting past each other. We could use our voices to speak up for what's right and to fight for what we believe in. We could be braver in terms of how we perceive, think, and communicate, all conditioned by that interconnected empathy of Pisces. But we have to slow down and use our discernment to figure out what's worth spending our limited spoons on, right? Do any of y'all have an excess of spoons right now? I didn't really think so. So Sunday is a day to watch how we move and speak and think. And it reminds me a little bit of the potentials from that Venus-Pluto sextile earlier in the week, but this time in a more challenging form, testing what we've learned so far from our eclipse season tribulations and our Mercury retrograde reflections. So let's lean into the brave, resilient, empowering, revolutionary astrology of this week. And that's it for your astrological weather report. I'm Alice Pope. Logan, back to you.